The lockdown had a significant impact on everybody's emotional state. For those of us on the anxious side, there was the fear of getting sick, the fear of isolation, and the fear of financial ruin. For those of us more on that depressed side, there was also this added sense of suffering from the loss of our routine and, of course, the isolation. Hello, wellness warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. The reason that I make these videos is to help you to understand that when your mental health and physical health are working well together, we usually have that sense of well-being. If this is something that you're working on, subscribe because I make new videos every week. That financial pressure that a lot of us felt at the beginning of the lockdown, that led a lot of us to do things to either find more income or we just lost sleep over the fact that we didn't know if we'd be able to keep our homes. And what we saw then was that those people who were able to supplement, able to minimize the costs of running their house every day since they weren't going to work and they weren't using their car. And so for people who were able to rearrange things, their anxiety diminished greatly when the financial burden was removed. For those who were not able to address those issues, their anxiety remained high. Now, for those who are anxious about getting sick, the results were a bit more varied just because there wasn't a quick solution that we could give besides stay home. But the fact that we started to get a number on it and started to say most people somewhere between a month and 3 months were feeling back to normal, and being able to wrap my mind around what I'm facing helps me to feel more in control because I can plan and I know what to expect. Also, after a few months, we had more information about how to minimize the risk of catching the virus. Again, that helped people to know what to expect. It helped people to know that there were things that they could do to minimize their risk, right? We now knew what to do to keep ourselves safe. That social isolation seemed to be the one that was the hardest to manage. There wasn't really much we could do about it. There were restrictions, and that caused a lot of problems for people. We are social beings. For those people that were limited to the people in their homes, especially when they were not in positive relationships with those people. So marital problems, sibling problems, there was more violence and more alcohol use, more, right? There was a lot of negatives happening due to people being forced to be in closed spaces with people that they're not getting along with and no break from those situations. Now, even in homes where the people were getting along, being around your sibs, being around your spouse, and only being around them, again, we're social beings, it still caused problems. Even in these relatively happy households, alcohol consumption still seemed to go up. And there was even an increase in junk food use. And I mean, we saw this, right? The first few days of the lockdown, if you had to go pick up groceries to get yourself prepared, like I did, the shelves were empty where all the junk food was empty. Self-soothing with food was really high. But interestingly, there were some households that took the lockdown as a blessing. And they took the opportunity to spend more time with their spouse in a positive way, creating family time with their children, engaging in social media as a way to reach out to family members and to socialize. Heard a lot of people talking about having virtual suppers with people. So some people found innovative, interesting ways to keep themselves connected to people that were not living in their homes. Now, of course, the length of that first lockdown was quite long, and it forced a lot of us to engage our world in a different way. You know, there's only so much scrolling on my phone I can do. There's only so much Netflix I can watch. And then it's kind of like, okay. So what ended up happening is that people actually ended up taking the time to do social distance activities with the people that were close by. So talking across the fence to a neighbor meant I was talking to a real person, making more phone calls and reaching out to people that maybe I hadn't talked to in months or even years. Again, taking my kids to the local park or going to for walks. Well, not the local park, those were closed, but going for walks and just taking my kids to do things that were fun for us. The lockdown put us all in positions where we had to think a little bit outside the box about how are we going to keep ourselves entertained, active, and socially engaged in a situation where we don't have access to the gym, we don't have access to restaurants, we don't have access to other families that are not living in our house. So the question that I have is, what did we actually learn by living through that lockdown? especially that first one where we didn't have true understanding of how long it would be, how how severe it would be. Like, what did we learn from living through that first lockdown? And I think the thing that I want us all to come away from with this is that the way that we solve problems will not automatically change, even if there's a serious, severe, dramatic issue happening right in front of us. Those who avoid, those who lean on self-soothing drugs, alcohol, sex, food, continued to do so. Those who problem solve and look for real solutions to their problems looked for real solutions to what were happening right in front of them. You need to pay attention to how you problem solve. You need to verify whether or not the things that you're doing are actually resulting in the resolution of the problem, or just masking it, just covering it, just hiding it. If you're actually doing things that's solving the problem, then your life will actually improve, right? Your situation will feel better to you. But if you're putting your attention on hiding from the problem, if you're putting your, and hiding from the problem can be drinking or drugging it away. It can also be temporarily soothing myself with sex, with food, with activities. If I'm constantly playing video games and I have real world problems that I am not addressing because I'm constantly playing video games. If you're struggling to actually allow yourself to focus on and solve the problem, I am suggesting to you to consider seeing a psychologist to help you to do this. It'd be worth it to you, because actually solving the problem, like I said, it resulted in many, many people living through this lockdown and coming out the other side, either feeling just as good as they went in, or having found ways to improve their life and create situations now where they can continue using these things that they've figured out in their healthy life going into the future. If you want more information on how to improve your life, check out these videos that are on the screen right now. Wellness Warriors, I'm always happy when you join me. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, and I really can't wait to talk to you guys again next week.